But that, the theory at the beginning of the season was that the offenses would have some sort of edge over the defenses because there was no training camp and all that other shit, and there was no pregame or preseason games and shit. But now we're, at the end of the season. The theory at the beginning of the season was that okay. Sharing right now to my thingy dingy. All right, I'm all shared there.
I'm working it.
It's worth it. Let me work it.
All right.
Oh, sorry. Dwayne Haskins just got cut by the Washington football team. The best Ohio State quarterback ever.
Boy, did he revert back to the long time no Ohio State quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay. Otto Graham. Okay. Did Otto Graham go to Notre Dame or Ohio State? I can't remember.
I can't remember. That's funny.
But if it's 70 years, it's still a problem.
Apparently, Otto Graham went to Northwestern.
Jeez.
I wouldn't have guessed that in a million years. Google has these questions like people also ask, and here's one of the questions. People also ask, what happened to Otto Graham's face? It's one of the questions people ask.
Okay.
I'm ready when you are, sir.
Okay. It is the Brad and Britt cast. We're doing two of them this week. One goes live Monday. That's as we're doing it Monday afternoon, and then Tuesday, and then the rest of the week off for those of you who are scheduling your lives around our schedule, and we thank you for that.
Yes, we're done with 2020 after today and tomorrow. That'll be it for us.
Okay, you just said it. You just said it. I am so tired.
Yes.
Of can 2020 just end? Hey, I have some news for you.
Yeah, please help me.
This is the equivalent to on November 8th, if it snows. It can't snow yet. The winter hasn't officially started yet. Nothing changes on January 1st. Trump will still be the president. The pandemic will still be here. Everything will still suck. You still shouldn't go out to a restaurant. You still shouldn't travel. Nothing will change. And because if you're still a person that has to write a check, you have to remember to put 21 instead of nothing changes. And if we could just get through 4 more days, we could be done with 2020. And then I'm sick of it. Stop the cliches.
No,
just stop it.
No,
stop it. Thank you.
When my buddy Anderson Cooper drops that ball on Thursday night, it's going to be all over, and then 2021 is going to be so much better. I don't know. There's going to be a psychological factor because it has been such a shitty year.
Let's see. How many days into 2021 will someone write the first story saying, well, it's 2021, but it doesn't seem like it's that much different?
Nothing's changed. How long will that take? Everything still sucks.
Because it won't. And so just stop it. The world does not change because the calendar does. That's the simple fact. Now, let's get to even less important things.
All right.
Actually, more important things. Since we were last together, we had this nutcase in Nashville blow up the van and kill himself, and he did it in front of the AT&T building in Nashville, apparently, because he was just a complete nutcase, paranoid, whack job loser who, and I don't know whether this is true, but apparently he or his dad worked for the old Bell South, which became part of AT&T, and he connected that up with 5G is going to steal his children, steal his DNA, and turn him into a lizard person. The 5G that you occasionally hear about if you watch television and
once in a
have
while.
a phone.
Yeah,
right.
They try to get you to sign up for every
So
company.
the guy was completely paranoid. But the interesting part of this, and it's still 2020, so we do have to always filter everything through how did Trump fuck this up? And of course, he fucked it up by ignoring it.
Exactly.
By completely pretending
day after day
it didn't
after
happen.
day
After day.
Yeah.
And his response was in sympathy with a white guy, 63-year-old terrorist, was to, of course, go to a golf course where all 63-year-old white guys like to hang out. That was how he showed his real concern there. But he said nothing about it, and we know if this was a Black Lives Matter or a Muslim guy, this would have been the worst case of terrorism, and this would be Obama's fault, and it would be Nancy
If a Black
Pelosi's
Lives Matter guy would have
Right.
had scratched a hangnail on a police officer
Right.
anywhere.
And by the way, they would have even gone so far with no shame to say, this is what Joe Biden's America is like, even though Trump is still president, right?
Exactly.
This is what happens in Joe Biden's America. People blow themselves up for no reason. And I, as a big fan, a big fan of the great Petula Clark, who is still with us.
Oh, yes.
And she is still singing.
I'm sorry she got dragged into this, really.
The guy played, and he played Downtown, which, by the way, was the first #1 record of 1965 for 2 weeks.
So
right?
good.
Now she isn't thought of as part of the British invasion because she's not a rock band, but
she's not a guy.
British.
Yeah,
but
she's not
British.
It's mostly males they think of when they think of the British
That's
invasion,
right.
right?
That's right. And so, she holds a lot of records for all kinds of stuff. I think she put 15 songs in a row in the top 40, which is kind of a big deal over several years.
Well, and again, she's not
that's a classic song. That is truly.
It is. Well, she had a tremendous voice and kind of an underrated singer. She's somebody who you know about, but a lot of people in the mainstream don't talk about her these days. She's a fantastic singer and had a string of hits and was a big star there for a number of years. Yeah,
right. She was. Now, but here's the way, and you can attribute this to my rather tortured way of thinking about.
Oh, good.
Which is because this was in Nashville, and he chose downtown, and he was in downtown Nashville, and he was a loner and a loser, and of course the lyrics of that song. When you're alone and life is making you lonely, you can always go downtown. It's that kind of a song, but if he had done this in, say, New York or Boston or Philadelphia or Washington, he would have chosen Petula Clark's Don't Sleep in the Subway.
That's right.
Those cities have subways.
They do.
And of course, anyone that really knows what that song is about knows it has nothing really to do with the subway. But I'm stretching it, and I don't really care. Right. When I'm going for just a cheap, pointless, analogous nothing, that's what I do. Don't sleep in the subway.
If you're doing Philly, don't you do Philadelphia Freedom or one of those songs like that? Isn't that what you're going?
Well, no, you have to stay with Petula Clark.
You got to stay with Petula Clark.
Oh my God! Oh Jesus, God Almighty! What the hell is wrong with you?
But he bitches, whines, moans, and complains. All these stupid theories, retweets all this shit about himself, portrays himself as a lion by one guy's fan art. But day after day after day, nothing about the people in Nashville. I don't even think does he eventually even get around to praising the police in Nashville who are getting such great PR right now, right?
Yeah, and he could have done that because 5 of the 6 cops were white.
That's correct. Unfortunately, they've decided that the black guy should be the spokesman for the group, and he's on TV so much. So I guess that really soured Donald Trump.
That killed it.
Yeah, that's what did it.
They ruined it.
That was
good one, sir. Good one.
You could have praised that police department, but they had a black guy, and that's the old Jesse Helms thing, right?
But it is interesting that there has been some agony over. Is this really terrorism? Because terrorism has to have a definite political.
God.
Jesus, of course it's terrorism. And we know because it's a white guy, then we have to agonize over it just a little bit more.
Exactly.
And we have to maybe we have to understand his grievances because he's a white guy and he was troubled. And if he could have gotten some help, but if it's a Muslim or a black guy,
it's always
then it's just that's what they are.
Well, and again, I think the statistics are very clear about this. That since 9/11, your chances of in a terrorist activity in the United States of being killed by a white guy are exponentially much more than has been of a Muslim extremist. Mm-hmm. It's been way more, even though no one died in this particular one, thanks to the quick thinking of the police in this case. All of that is true, but nobody. Again, you're right. It can't be terrorism unless it's it's not a brown guy named Muhammad. So there's no way this is terrorism at all, right? That's the theory that some of these idiots have, and because he has not denounced people who attack synagogues in his name in some cases and shit like that, then obviously he's not going to denounce this one because he's too busy wallowing in his own filth.
Well, but you have to admire the guy. He stays on brand.
Well, it's true.
He was a racist for decades before he ran for president. He was a racist in the 2010s leading up to his becoming a candidate, and he's a fucking racist going out the door.
Multi-generational, Brad. His daddy was a racist, and he inherited it in the Central Park Five, and it goes on to Obama's birth certificate, and on and on and on it goes. So all of that stuff is true.
It's like other great brands, Coke.
Yes, that's right.
You stick with the formula. When Coke changed the formula, they had trouble.
There's no new Trump. There's no new Trump. There's not going to be any of that shit. It's always the same old Trump. That's
however,
exactly what goes on.
However, that being said, there is a body of thought that believes, and I kind of believe it too in its own way, that his actions of the last couple months leading up to this very day really are the signal that he is never going to run for office again, because by hanging up the aid and not signing this bill and torturing tens of millions of people, by pardoning war criminals, actual, real, honest to God war criminals. I mean, you can run through the entire list of things that he's been doing lately. Those are not the kind of things that he's going to be able to get out in front 4 years from now with people and say, oh, look what I did, especially right near the end. Look at all the great things I did on the way out the door. And you know what? For the first time in 59 years, I said, I'm not going to sign the defense bill that the Congress passed. 59 years, because I'm Donald Trump and I'm a different kind of president. And what that gets down to is a complete misunderstanding, a complete cognitively dissonant way of looking at the fact that he did lose the election. He lost the popular vote. Republicans below him all over the country did much better than him. So it was a personal rejection, and it was, I think, Trump fatigue. That was Trump fatigue in there. Yeah. And so what's he doing? He's doing all the things right after the election that are, there's going to be some kind of phrase that comes up that's equivalent to a post-traumatic Trump stress syndrome. Okay. That he is now invoking on the country, that we've had Trump fatigue for 4 years. Yeah. And instead of using the last few weeks of his presidency to leave everyone with a positive taste in their mouths about him, which is impossible, by the way, but we'll pretend that if he did things that weren't so horrible right now, that he could have started the road to revisionist history, and he could have but he doesn't want to. He doesn't care, because he always thinks he's right. And so if you add all those things up, those don't add up to a guy who's going to run again for office. He's just going to be a pain in the ass, forever until he dies. Which,
in some ways, is great, because again, the Republican Party will never be able to get out from under this guy, and they don't deserve to.
I'm sorry, I only agree 2,000%.
They don't deserve to. Yeah. Obviously, since we last left, he blew up the deal that the Democrats and Republicans had gotten together as far as the stimulus relief, the checks, and all of that stuff. said that $600 wasn't enough. He wasn't going to sign it. He wanted $2,000.
So that was a lie. Okay,
$2,000. He creates a problem, and then he solves it. On Sunday night, he decides, I'm going to go ahead and sign it. Here's your $600 checks. What that does for people who were on unemployment, I think they miss a check out of all of that because of his stupidity and his grandstanding and his nonsense. People who are unemployed, who need the money really the most, are going to miss an entire check because he was such a petulant boob for 72 or 96 hours.
See, Britt, I hate to tell you, but since the Republicans now are the party of the working class, the white working class, who understands them better than the Republican Party? Because the Democrats have just taken them for granted for too long. And here come the Republicans to say, fuck you, you don't need that week's check.
Hey, let me ask you something.
This is more of the let me kick you, and then you'll still vote for me, right?
Where did the president and the vice president of the white working class, the common man, where did they go on vacation for Christmas?
I think I know this. I know this. All right, so Trump goes to Florida.
That's correct.
Pence went to Vail,
which is, again, the guys in Valdosta, the guys in Alabama.
Stephen Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, I think he went to Cabo.
Well, there you go.
Went to Mexico.
The guys, Klimka Diddlehopper down there in Valdosta, Georgia, and the folks riding around in trucks with toolboxes around in Anniston, Alabama. They can certainly relate to people who go to Palm Beach and Vail for winter vacations and just kind of hang out there, right? Nothing screams average American like Vail. Well, am I right about that?
It obviously doesn't matter because they will ignore that. That will not be mentioned on the Fox News channel.
Right.
And better that than a communist Negro as your senator in Georgia, like Raphael Warnock, right? Because he's a twofer, right? He's a Negro and a communist, right?
He's all of that. He's also a fake Christian. Don't forget that. He's not a real Christian.
Right.
He's got all that going for him. But we're hearing more and more voices, including that idiot Lynn Wood down in Georgia, who now say, fuck Loeffler and fuck Purdue. Don't vote Republican in this election. We have to send them a message. There are more and more people who are affiliated with the president, even though he's vowed to go down there for a big rally, I believe, this weekend.
Now, I thought he was decided he wasn't. I'm caught in the middle here between. Thought I heard he decided to cancel doing that.
Fluid, because he put out a tweet over the weekend saying, "Hey, I'm going to be there in Georgia, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys, and you can't stop me, and maybe I can infect a few more people and kill off a couple of more before this election." So again, it's a fluid situation, and then he's promising. Is there another possible Kraken sighting in D.C. on January the 6th? He's planning some sort of rally or something like that.
Oh, well, so that's the day. That's Custer's last stand.
That's right.
In effect, because this will be the ultimate loyalty test for Mike Pence. Is he going to do the right thing? Is he going to be like Al Gore in 2000, who, after losing in the Supreme Court and George W. Bush became the president, he presided over the then Senate and had to be the guy that read off the fact that George W. Bush was the next president according to the Electoral College, which he followed the law, he followed the rules. Is Mike Pence going to do the same thing? Because no matter what happens, even if you get some objections from Tommy Tuberville of Alabama and a couple of those goofy members of the House of Representatives saying, Justice of the Peace, I do not want these two to be married. I'm going to be standing up in the back of the church and saying, here is the reason why they should not be married. Here's the reason why, that'll get voted down in a couple of minutes by everybody else there, I'm pretty sure. And then Mike Pence will have to utter the words that the totals equal to Joe Biden, 306 to 232 or whatever it was. And Joe Biden is hereby the president of the United States elect on January 20th. He's going to have to say those words. And of course, he's not supposed to say those words, is he? He's not supposed to utter those words. He's supposed to, right there at the moment, blow up the whole. I don't know what he would do. So this is, are you more loyal to the country and the Constitution, or are you more loyal to Donald Trump? Boy, Mike Pence, that's an agonizing question, isn't it? How is he ever going to answer that?
But you've seen
We'll
the
have to wait.
stories that are saying that Trump is more confused than ever. That he's told Pence, "Why can't you just swing this in my favor?" When they
Right? Why
meet?"
can't you just right?
I don't understand. And Mike Pence goes, "Well, it's more of a ceremonial thing. I just kind of show up.
No, it's not a ceremonial thing. No, no.
I'm just there. They count the thing. They say, hey, Biden won. And I say, okay, yeah, Biden won and we're done. And Trump's like, no, you can help me. You can put me in. Why aren't you doing that? And Trump seems more and more apoplectic and confused that Mike Pence is not being a little more proactive on this.
All right. Stop the music here. Do you really think that he really thinks that could happen?
Yeah, I really,
this is
no, I
just
really,
nonstop bluster and bullshit all the way to the finish line.
I think he's been fed enough bullshit by the Mark Levins of the world that he believes that there's some role that Mike Pence could take in delivering him the presidency. And Mike, why aren't you doing this? This is the I need my Roy Cohn moment. This is the I don't understand why you people aren't helping me out. Why is you have an opportunity to help me, Donald Trump, out, and you're not doing it? And I don't understand, because I'm the best president we've ever had. Mike, you owe everything to me, and you're not helping me. Same thing with John Roberts. Why are you not helping me? And Neil Gorsuch, I put you on the Supreme Court, and Brett Kavanaugh, I put you on the Supreme Court. Amy Coney Barrett, I put you on the Supreme Court. Why aren't you helping me? This judge in Wisconsin that he called out and bitched about over the week. Why aren't you helping me? I put you on the highest court in Wisconsin. You have a chance to help your president, and you're not doing that.
But do you think he really truly thinks that people would take that step who are also either elected officials or have lifetime jobs in the courts, and they're not really accountable to Donald Trump? Does he really think that there are people who would run that kind of interference for him?
Yes.
And turn the country upside down? Yes,
they've done this his entire life. He's had someone his entire life to take care of him and protect him and run interference for him. And in the past 4 years, he's had Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz and any number of people who have done his bidding anytime that he's needed anything. Yes, of course he believes that's how it is. His entire life, he's been a huge baby. And he's had always somebody, when he started crying, to run and try to get some milk and heat it up very quickly.
As you mentioned the name Roy Cohn, I think it's important to understand the arc of the ultimate failure and discrediting of Roy Cohn. Because when he was, 25, 26 years old, he was the lawyer sitting next to Joe McCarthy during the Army McCarthy hearings. He was the guy whispering in his ear, you can do this, do that, do this. And what eventually happened to Joe McCarthy? He lost. Yeah. He was discredited. He was disgraced.
Right.
He died a few years later, a broken down drunk. So this idea that Roy Cohn was some magical force at that point defending, at least up to this moment, what we consider to be the worst political demagogue of the 20th century. And there are a lot of nominees for that. But McCarthy, look, it's called McCarthyism for a reason. And it's going to be called Trumpism for a reason. But Roy Cohn lost. Mm-hmm. Joe McCarthy ultimately lost. Donald Trump lost. Mm-hmm. And there is no one equivalent to Roy Cohn right now for Donald Trump. And even if there was, guess what? They'd lose. Roy Cohn lost for Joe McCarthy, and Roy Cohn reincarnated would also lose for Donald Trump. And if you want to say the closest thing that Trump has had to that is Rudy Giuliani, right? A lawyer, a high-profile, prominent lawyer. Rudy Giuliani is a disgrace. He's a loser.
Oh, my God.
He hasn't done anything correct. So when you say, well, where's my Roy Cohn? You're paraphrasing what Trump apparently has said several times over the years. He said it out loud. And he obviously says it in private that he's looking for someone that dishonest who's a lawyer. And if Sidney Powell counts, well, again, what a loser she is. And the White House lawyer right now, Pat Cipollone, the guy who ran all kinds of interference for him at the impeachment hearings, he's saying, "Not me. I ain't that guy. I ain't doing it for you." So he's lost him. He's not doing anything for him. He's not trying to cheat for him. So I guess we're just doomed to talk about this for another few weeks like this, because it's a losing hand that Trump is trying to play here. And the only thing he has left, and I think you said this weeks, maybe months ago, and I was a little more hesitant to go with it, but he is really truly calling for street violence. Yeah. He's really calling for people to get violent, show up in Washington, and
that's not even ambiguous.
Proxy, show up in other cities, particularly I guess at state capitals. Yeah. Right. Go back to Lansing. What's the capital? Pittsburgh. Harrisburg is Pennsylvania, right? Yeah, go to those places and do some harassing on the day of the Electoral College final count, which is January 6th, right? Mm-hmm. Which when you bump that up against the Georgia election on January 5th, you really have a very, very combustible situation.
Sure.
That, of course, any responsible person or president wouldn't want to inflame. And again, I said responsible person wouldn't want to inflame, and we're not talking about that. We're talking about a guy who really wants to, in effect, blow up the van.
That's correct.
Blow up the van. Yeah,
that's absolutely what's going on, and yeah, he's trying to do, and it's not even ambiguous at this point. That's what he's trying to do, and you've seen that he's extremely upset with Mitch McConnell. He's very upset with Mitch McConnell for not saving his presidency. I care
who he's mad at. And by the way, Mitch McConnell, did you see that statement that he put out? That congratulatory statement on signing the. We got it done. Blah, blah, a complete suck up, lay down, pretend the last week of Trump hemming and hawing and playing reality show host and tweeting out, "You're going to like what's going to happen tomorrow," or wait to, there's all this bullshit.
Right.
And this should, and I'm going to capitalize the word should, cost Republicans everything, but it will cost them nothing. We already know that. So far, there's been no price to be paid around the country for the most part. In fact, they've been rewarded for it. They have been rewarded.
Well, that's what I was thinking when you said about all these pardons and stuff. Do you think that Donald Trump is really, among his followers? Do you think because he's done all these pardons of these people who obviously did his bidding, and Manafort and all these other people, do you think that's really going to be something that disqualifies him from winning an election in 4 years?
Well, think of it this way. Let's play plus 3 years.
Okay.
Right? And we're coming to the beginning of 2024, right? It was the summer of 2023.
Yeah.
And there will be debates. There will be lots of debates, probably. And because there's going to be a lot of people that want that Republican nomination. And unless Trump thinks that he can stay out of all debates, right, and then just announce at the last minute, he's going to try to evade having to be questioned on everything. But assuming that at some point he really does get questioned and he is in a debate and he has to face many of the same people from 2016, they'll still be around. The Marco Rubio's, what a piece of shit he is.
Oh my God.
Oh my Jesus God.
Oh.
But all those people will still, and Tom Cotton. Oh Lord. Oh, these people, they're all dreadful. But it's one thing to be Donald Trump, the coming out of left field showboat guy who was in the debates in 2016. It is another thing to have to defend what you did as president in the primaries in a few years. I think it's a whole different ballgame, and I don't think he could survive that. I don't think he could. It's a whole different ballgame, don't you think?
I
could be wrong. I could be wrong.
I would like to think that that's the case, but I don't know. He's going to be able to. And the saddest part of all of this, when they talk about the supposed challenges to all this stuff on January the 6th and all these, these legit, oh, I've got this coming, and there's all these great arguments. This is just a massive grift. This is another chance to suck money out of his $20,000 a year people that are living in poverty so that he can funnel that money to his stupid kids.
Oh, well, yeah,
that's what this is.
That's a whole other channel. That's a whole other aspect of this. For instance, the other day, I saw, and I haven't seen any follow-up on it, that they're running after Ivanka Trump to write a book. All right. Now, what is she going to put in a book? Her side of the story. We got it wrong about her.
You're right.
How brilliant she is. What she can't come out and say, I was the real stopper. I was the real guardrail against my father doing blank, blank, right? Mm-hmm. She can't be that. So what possibly is she going to say?
Well, there's a lot of
that is going to advance her political career. But
it's a lot of these awful. I mean, I think it's just she panders to the Trump supporters. These awful attacks that she and her family had to go through for 4 years, and she's going to detail some things that maybe you weren't aware of about how people were awful to her, and she got death threats, and they talked about her children and all this other nonsense. I think that's the route that she takes, and then these people, they lick it up with a spoon. They buy 50 copies a piece of that shit, don't they?
Oh, well, I think you probably hit on pathetically the worst aspect of this. It's Trump and Donald Trump and Trumpism as victims.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm not sure that we're going to be pining, the country is going to be pining for the return of the victim family, which they really weren't the victims. They were the victimizers. They were the criminals. They were the ones who got away with things. I don't know that we'll be in a position to want to turn the clock back to that. I mean, look, the track record of presidents ever running again is one, Grover Cleveland. That's it.
That's the one.
And I recall, I was around for the Grover Cleveland.
Yeah. How did that go? What were they saying on Twitter about Grover?
Well, he was a special guy. He was a very, very special guy.
Was he screwed out of an election too, or what?
I don't know.
Media,
but he was the last thing in Cleveland that won it all.
Oh, sad.
Oh, sorry, Cavaliers won. Sorry.
Good job.
It would have been a good joke. It had potential.
And now the good job with the Jets, by the way. That was a nice loss for the Cleveland Browns.
Well, they didn't have any receivers. They had nobody to catch the ball. Did you see that?
If it makes you feel any better, though, the Jets screwed themselves out of that top pick in the draft, so the Jaguars are going to grab Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback from Clemson. Yeah. Mediaite is reporting that with the drop-dead date approaching, President Donald Trump's most ardent backers in Congress are turning to increasingly more desperate measures to keep Vice President Pence from certifying Joe Biden's victory in a federal lawsuit filed Monday morning. Louis Gohmert, your favorite congressman, joined a group of 11 other plaintiffs suing the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence. Now, I hope this doesn't ruin Mike Pence's Vail vacation. I hope he's still able to hit.
Wait, hang on. What the hell do they think they have some kind of case on this one? This is this is taking silly putty and stretching it to lengths I've never heard. Talk about making shit up. Go ahead, read it.
Gohmert and the others, a group which includes Arizona Republican Party Chair Kelly Ward, are bringing their case before Trump-appointed Judge Jeremy Kernodle. They're seeking to give Pence the ability to appoint a sham slate of pro-Trump electors rather than the duly elected appointees chosen by the public on November the 3rd. The argument, such as it is, falsely claims there is evidence of massive multi-state electoral fraud. The filing states that Gohmert will indeed lodge an objection during the joint session of Congress, in which Pence will preside on January the 6th. I believe that is next Wednesday as we speak. To date, legal challenges from the Trump campaign or his supporters have gone poorly. That campaign and its allies have lost more than 50 lawsuits, Brad, in the weeks following Biden's victory.
Well, thoughts
on Louis Gohmert doing what he does?
This one could be done by this afternoon. This one could be tossed out that quickly.
But who knows?
I mean, it just doesn't matter, and it does not matter who appointed the judge. I mean, Trump lost his last case over the weekend 3-0, and they were 3 judges appointed by Donald Trump, George H.W. Bush, and Reagan. Okay,
Right.
So it's irrelevant. It is irrelevant who appoints judges when it gets down to this issue and these issues. That's not to say that the horrible legacy of Trump is going to be all of these judges who, yes, they're following the law right now on election law and the bullshit of trying to overturn the election, but relax, they will go back to making outrageously horrible decisions on a lot of things for the rest of our life and beyond. They have been installed. Many of them are unqualified. They are boobs.
Yeah.
They're the worst of the worst. But even the worst of the worst are not going to hand over an election that's been certified 5 ways from Sunday and take away the right of the American people to vote. Even those bad judges, they just can't seem to find any. There just aren't any.
Well, sir, I mean, but the fear is that there's going to be one crazy ass out there. And I was just looking this up, and I was not aware. Louis Gohmert does have a law degree from Baylor University. He's got a JD from Baylor University.
Doesn't matter.
I mean,
it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, and Baylor's got a good law. I mean, it's just
it doesn't mean he's a good lawyer.
No, it doesn't. It means he's an idiot. But it just
an idiot.
Even for him to be like, this is the road that I'm going to go down. I'm going to do this. I'm going to peddle this bullshit, even though I know it's bullshit and it's not going to work, but I'm going to do it. And all of this is just theater to show to these folks in the trailer park that they need to give Donald Trump $20 so that his stupid kids don't never have to work again. They're going to funnel that money straight to them.
And I can assure you he didn't learn this in the law school at Baylor. Okay?
I hope he didn't.
And Sidney Powell didn't learn the bullshit she's spinning at law school at UNC.
Right.
This is outside of that. This has nothing to do with law school or anything, or where it doesn't mean anything. And these people, they in one sense, they are lost souls. They are completely over their heads. They're beyond reason. They're beyond discussion. And you can see just little cracks appearing from elected Republicans, not just the ones who are out of office or retired, they can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, Adam Kitzinger from is he from Illinois? I believe he's from Illinois.
Yeah, he was going off.
He's had it. He's had it. He's fed up, and he's a Republican. And it's just another couple weeks. It's just another couple weeks.
And it's another couple weeks for him to run this grift on these people.
Well, that continues on forever.
Right.
Oh, that absolutely continues on forever, fleecing people for money. I mean, you're still getting solicitations, I'm sure. I'm getting them from politicians. I get them from the winners.
I know.
I don't get them just from the losers. I get them from the winners saying
many of these are actually going to go to like the legitimate causes. Like if you're getting like solicitations to support the race in Georgia for the Democrats, that stuff's going to go to his shit. Is just going to go to his stupid ass kids. I mean that's what they're doing. And you know who else has had it with Donald Trump? Apparently, is Rupert Murdoch. New York Post shocking front page plea to President Donald Trump to stop the insanity is opening eyes throughout the industry on Monday morning. In a scathing rebuke, the Post editorial board implored Trump to give up his attempt to overthrow the election. You're cheering for an undemocratic coup, the editorial board writes. And part of this is like, to an extent, I'm glad they're doing it, but at the same time, fuck the New York Post. They've been fueling this shit for 4 years now. They've been doing his bidding for 4 years now. And then all of a sudden they get religion at the very end because Rupert Murdoch's done. Don't you feel the same way?
Here's what I wrote last night.
Yes.
Rupert, you beneath contempt pig. Too late was the insanity, because the headline is "Stop the Insanity" with a picture of Trump. Was the insanity fully acceptable until this moment?
It was.
Sorry, but Trump's legacy, because again, the subheadline is, "You lost the election. Here's how to save your legacy." I said, was the legacy already set in stone? Yes, it was. There's nothing to be saved except the country. You, Twitter, Facebook, right-wing hate radio, and your propaganda channel Fox created and enabled Trump all the way through. I'll be anxiously awaiting you calling off the dogs. Tucker and Sean and Laura on Fox News Primetime, the lineup of Don's Three Stooges tonight. I'm sure they're going to be similarly telling Trump to concede, to cut the crap, STFU, and stop sabotaging the United States, stop sabotaging the economy, the containment of the coronavirus, and Joe Biden. Let's see if it extends to that. Because you know what? The New York Post doesn't mean shit. It doesn't influence anyone.
Right.
And the only people that read it in New York are mouth breathers and the rest of the media to see what the New York Post is writing. It has no influence. To be fair, though, apparently Trump has said many times it's the first thing he reads every day. But if you think that at this late hour, that one editorial, one cover picture of him saying stop the insanity is going to change the trajectory of him, it's not going to. It doesn't matter. No. You can't feed the beast for, in the case of the New York Post, decades, right? Decades. Yeah. He was the go-to paper. He was the one. The Post was the paper where a lot of the bullshit was planted on purpose, and they went along with it knowing about the lies, about the dating and Madonna and all that. They went along with it. So at this hour, Rupert Murdoch, you should be cursed.
Oh, absolutely.
In so many ways. How dare you? How dare you? Yeah. When the rest of the world, the rational world, has been saying, stop the insanity. We said it the minute Donald Trump came down the escalator. We said, stop the insanity. Don't even think about nominating this guy, back when he had 3% of the support. You were with him all the way.
That's right.
No, you don't get to jump off the Trump train now. It's too late. It's running us all over, but you're not going to be the one that stops it. It's going to be the checks and balances of the American political system, as rickety as it is, as off base as it is, how ridiculous it is, considering much of this framework was constructed 220 years ago, 30 years ago, but it's barely holding. But it's not going to be you saying that on the Donald Trump isn't going to now later today. Well, I saw that thing in the Post. Okay,
good job.
All right. I never thought I was not being a great president until you told me this. Who knew?
But hopefully it will lead to a string of petulant attacks against Rupert Murdoch on Twitter. I mean, that's what I'm hoping for. Give me my popcorn. From 48 hours ago, Donald Trump tweeting, "A young military man working in Afghanistan told me that elections in Afghanistan are far more secure and much better run than the U.S.'s 2020 election. Ours, with its millions and millions of corrupt mail-in ballots, was the election of a third world country. Fake president," he says, with an exclamation point. You want to do the reverse on that? If Barack Obama at any point had said that Afghanistan is much better in terms of electoral security, if he had put a tweet out there, would you imagine how long would it have taken for them to scream on Fox or on talk radio, N-word, if you like Afghanistan so much, get your black ass out of America? Don't you think that would have been the response if Barack Obama had dared to say anything of that nature?
That's not even a question. That's not even a question. But the fire hose of bullshit.
Yeah,
I believe is what George Orwell called it. Didn't use those words. Something equivalent to that. That tweet is so 48 hours ago, and
exactly.
Yes, on its own, just like saying that John McCain isn't a war hero.
Yeah.
Each individual lie, each individual outrage, each individual outburst of craziness and sickness should have sunk him, but it did not. It emboldened him and his followers. And we're just about to the end of the legal version of the sanctioning of the insanity inflicted on us and the world. But yeah, Afghanistan runs better elections than the United States. Of course it does. Naturally it does. We've all known that all along. Of course they do. For him to even say that, again, it's not worth the dots on the screen that you're reading it off. It just isn't. It's just, who is he? And until we reach the point where when even a Republican Secretary of State in Georgia or the Republican governor of Arizona or Georgia, when they're interviewed after Trump launches some kind of outrageous attack on their integrity, the election's integrity, the honesty of everyone certifying and recertifying and recounting, until we reach the point where they don't say things like, well, I disagree with the president. He has every right to pursue all legal recourse, but I voted for him. I did vote for him. Until they stop saying that, until they stop voting for him, until the candy is completely taken away, so far nothing matters. So far, nothing matters. In fact, even him losing the election, so far, it hasn't mattered. Not until, and again, I think you were more adamant about this, they really may have to handcuff him and pull him out of that house.
Yeah.
They may have to do that because he's that crazy. He's that off the rails. But, look, it's the voters.
Yeah.
It's the voters. They're afraid of their own voters.
That's right.
So what are they doing? For instance, where we live, Britt, North Carolina, one of the most horrendously gerrymandered states of them all.
Right.
In this last election, where I live, I was represented by this idiot, Ted Budd. He's one of the 126 asshole Republicans who signed on to the lawsuit.
That's right.
Last week. And they had to redraw the districts because of, 75 different court cases that said, stop the madness. And they redrew the districts. And now I'm in a district not represented by a Republican anymore. I'm in a more favorably drawn, gerrymandered for the Democrats district, the couple that there are in North Carolina. They threw the Democrats some bones to satisfy the courts. And we have a new representative, Kathy Manning, Democrat. Now, however, it's 2020. That's a redistricting year. And I think that North Carolina may get a new congressional seat. So we would go from 13 to 14? Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
All right. So if they go from 13 to 14, then everything has to be redrawn again.
Exactly.
And the Republicans who cheat and lie and suppress the vote, that's what they do. More voters equal bad for them. Fewer voters equal better for them. Minorities, old people, Democratic constituencies. What are the chances that they're going to try to re-gerrymander where I am again and put me back in another district? I don't know. I doubt that once they take a large city like Greensboro and finally make it one district, whether they can try to recut that again and fuck me over and put me in a gerrymandered Republican district. I doubt that they can do that, but damn it, they're going to try.
Don't you think? Right. That's exactly right.
They are going to try because it's what they do. It's what they are. And as the demographics of the country change, and they're changing faster than maybe people thought, and if you get the kind of turnout that you got this year, maybe there'll be higher turnouts in elections going forward. And we'll see whether Republicans can hold on in a couple of years based on what happens. There's no way to predict. We may be still dealing with the virus big time 18 months from now. It's very, very possible. I mean, you can see how slow the vaccine is being rolled out. You can see how irresponsible people are being. Oh, we have coronavirus fatigue. Stop telling me to not travel. I can't. If I can't hug grandma, my kids are going to die. Okay. If we keep that up, we're going to be dealing with this a year from now.
That's right.
As badly as we are at this moment. And if 100,000 people have died between Election Day and now, we're on this pace of, 2,500, 3,000 a day.
Yeah.
For a long time. I mean, first of all, we've already crossed the 1/3 of a million mark, 333,000. We crossed that. It won't take long to get to 500,000.
That's right.
Okay. And if people don't pay attention, if people don't follow the rules, if people don't wear masks, if Donald Trump wants to run an anti-science, anti-Dr. Fauci, and at the same time brag about the fact that he got the vaccine created, it's so crazy.
It is.
It's so nuts. I'm responsible for the vaccine, the one I haven't gotten yet, even though everyone would think that the president would be the first one to roll it, and they believe him and they follow him and they don't question him. And
right.
I guess that's what's frustrating to us, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You just can't believe you've been hosed this badly and you keep following the hoser.
The hoser. It's a good Canadian term.
Yeah. All right.
See you guys tomorrow.